Falafla Hilton, good evening. Leading our news bulletin tonight, the Toi by-election is gearing up for stiff competition as two candidates confirm for the polls. Former Member of Parliament for Toi, Honourable Diondo Fitu, is confirmed to contest his former seat against school teacher Mrs. Mokavaha. As the date draws near, many on the outside are predicting a strong challenge for one of the smaller constituencies on the island. Toi's former MP was left to re-enter the polls when the Niue High Court ruled against the process in which Mr. Taufitu was sworn in as a Member of Parliament when he was absent from the island for a few months due to ill health, as well as not adhering to the legislation stipulated in the Constitution governing Parliament procedures. Mrs. Mokavaha, who contested the Toi seat in the last election, received support also during the last exchange, but MP Taufitu completed the numbers to retain his seat as Parliament representative for Toi Village. The by-election date is confirmed for the 31st of March. Yesterday morning's court proceedings started in two locations, with the land courts taking place at the Niue Public Service Building, whilst the criminal and civil cases took less than an hour to complete at the Niue Golf and Sports Club. The criminal proceedings started with a divorce hearing, followed by a Crown Register case that completed without complications. Another standing case involving a public servant charged last year was also submitted into court. An adjournment by Chief Justice Savage removed the case to be heard and reviewed in July. The more serious of the proceedings involved the pending arson and firearm case in Hiktavake. The cases by the prosecutor against Mr. Ian Hepa was adjourned until July, with Mr. Hepa entering a not guilty plea. Another case of arson against Lionel Tahanga has been adjourned until Wednesday. Following another related firearm case by prosecutor against Asian Talafasi, this case was adjourned by Chief Justice Savage until Thursday, with Judge Savage indicating that Mr. Talafasi is likely to face jail time. As for the land courts, there are more prominent cases confirmed for the sitting, with the Alofi Mission land disputed for a rehearing. Government's proposal for a development in Lolo has also received an injunction from two landowners. Further east, families have applied to revert Tuasea Crown land back to the landowners. The Makefu Mission land is also on dispute. As landowners, Crown and families dispute over land, much of the focus from the courts is for applicants and respondents to reach an amicable decision. The Niue High Court will continue till Thursday, and we will bring you more from the courts on Thursday evening. It was a double celebration for the judiciary, with the launching of the Judicial Code of Conduct and the swearing-in of a new judge held on Saturday afternoon. Government representatives, commissioners of the court, justices of the peace, legal counsels and court staff were all present for the formal event as Chief Justice Savage conducted the swearing-in ceremony of Judge Coxhead onto the bench. Judge Coxhead is a judge on the Maori Land courts and is familiar with the judicial requirements of communities such as Niue. According to a source at Justice, the new judge was sworn in due to the unavailability of Judge Carter, who is in ill health. As for the development of the Judicial Code of Conduct, that was part of a regional capacity building Pacific Judicial Development Project that is also part of the Pacific Plan that helps with good governance practices. According to Justin Kampala, although it is not mandatory to have a code of conduct, it is good practice to ensure that we have good governance exercised in the region. Niue's first Judiciary Code of Conduct document will provide guidance for judges and those in the judiciary on issues of judicial integrity and independence, judicial diligence and impartiality. The swearing-in of the judge and launching of the Code of Conduct is quite timely, especially with the land, civil and criminal courts on this week. Young leaders are in training this week to build their capacity as means of strengthening the National Youth Council. The 3-day training workshop is a collaborative effort between the Niue Youth Council and the Department of Community Affairs that was officially opened today. The focus of the training is to enable youth to build their capacity and the Youth Council to become an effective youth body in Niue and in the region in terms of raising issues at a global level. We caught up with the facilitator of this workshop to find out what the training is all about.
We'll be looking at the structure of the National Youth Council, basically governance and the management of Niue Youth Council, and looking at, does it have a constitution? If it does, is it a working constitution? Do the members abide by the constitution? Does it have a work plan? Do the members understand the role of the National Youth Council and what it means to be an office bearer on the National Youth Council? Do the Youth Council understand what the National Youth Policy has and what is the role of the National Youth Policy as an NGO youth peak body here in terms of implementing the National Youth Policy? So I guess it's really to really have a inside look of what the Youth Council is about, because one of the challenges we're finding is that youth councils have really been there without having a proper understanding of why they exist, what is their purpose, and working towards a greater vision. And so that's what we're really here for, and also to drive the understanding is that we don't exist for no reason, but also the importance of having strategic partnerships with stakeholders like government, the Department of Community Affairs, and other like-minded government ministries that work or address youth issues, with the private sector, with development partners or donor partners who can all contribute to advancing youth work here in Niue.
Sarusila Bradberg is from the Pacific Youth Council, a regional non-government organization that focuses on youth development in the region and is committed to providing training to strengthen its membership.
The Pacific Youth Council works in 10 countries that have national youth councils, one of which is Niue, and our 3 focus areas are capacity building, advocacy and networking for the 3 years since 2009 until this year. And this has been supported through the AUSAID Pacific Leadership Program. Niue is the first for this year. We've completed these trainings in 5 countries that have National Youth Council. In 2010, we worked with the Tuvalu and the Nauru National Youth Council. Last year, our focus was in the Northern Pacific with the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Federated States of Micronesia, and the Palau National Youth Councils. And so this year, the focus will be on Niue, the Cook Islands, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Tonga. And interestingly, there's been interest from Kiribati, Fiji and Samoa, who are all working towards reviving their national youth councils.
According to the Niue Youth Council chairperson Shia Palahidongia, she says that it is her hope that more youth leaders will be able to attend and benefit from this training. This is a sentiment shared also by PYC.
One of the key messages and learnings I'd like to see the participants go away with is that they have a role to play in the National Youth Council. I think many times we often rely on the executive to drive the work of the council, but it's important to know that each young person is a member of the Youth Council, and therefore he or she has a role to play in strengthening the Youth Council and also in advancing youth work within a body like the National Youth Council. And secondly, to really be passionate about doing youth work here on Niue and in the region, particularly around volunteerism. We need young people to come and volunteer because we're not going to depend on others to do the work for us. We have to be the ones owning the development and driving it so that our leaders will see, okay, this generation of young people are ready to take on leadership roles for Niue, and that Niue and our region is in good hands because our young leaders are ready to take on leadership roles and to take on the challenge of what's around us and what's ahead of us.
The Niue Youth Council continues to extend an invitation to youth leaders to take up this opportunity, and the training workshop will conclude on Thursday. Last Friday, Niue Primary School was buzzing with excitement as goods were sold to raise funds for the student sports uniforms. The Bring and Buy market had parents, teachers and students on their toes, selling cooked food, baked goodies, agricultural products and even innovative ideas like personal calendars, all towards the cause. The school had requested that each student contribute 1 or 2 items for the market day, but were overwhelmed by the support shown by parents going above and beyond what was expected. The sales were snapped up so quickly that by the time the camera crew turned up, it was time to pack up and count the day's earnings. The response from youngsters was that it was exciting, fun, and that they were thankful to their parents and grandparents who helped them to get products to sell. Other means of generating funds include Mufti Days held on Fridays, but it seems that the Bring and Buy Market Day was a major success. Harmonies, melodies and spiritual praises emanated from the Millennium Hall last Saturday as Ekalisia Niue congregations gathered for the annual choir Ahome celebrations. This year's focus is on families with the theme God's Salvation for Families. That will also be the guiding theme for the church this year. Ekalisia Niue President Reverend Arthur Pinia says that normally Ahome program highlights traditional hymns, but this year it was open to the congregations to select their hymns, and many chose to sing psalms from the Bible. The church collected approximately $24,000 in donations and offerings, and that is an increase from last year. However, this is not the focus of the program. The Ahome program finished on a high note, with congregations looking forward to the Ahomama celebrations later in the year. And those are our news stories that we have for you this evening. Good night.